There is no shortage of social media platforms and the types of content out there. There's long form video on YouTube, short videos on TikTok, photos on Instagram, posts on Facebook, and all sorts of options in between. But what type of content directly translates into cash flow? Let's talk about that today. What type of content is best for driving revenue? First, let's talk about the basis of your content strategy, what you're gonna lead with every time you post on social media so that we know that it's leading to cash. Then we'll talk about what type of content to post on social media and how that's going to translate into driving towards your revenue. Then we'll talk about the type of content that leads into revenue on specific platforms like Instagram or LinkedIn. Here's the thing, when you're creating content, it needs to be part of a bigger strategy. No matter what type of content, we wanna reverse engineer the outcome, and there's 3 objectives for every piece of content that you create. And those objectives are lead generation, lead nurture, and lead conversion. If you aren't considering those 3 objectives with every piece of content that you create, you're basically just creating content for the sake of content, publishing your face off, and throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. If you can create every piece of content knowing that in some way, maybe it's generating a lead or nurturing a lead or bringing them over the line and converting them into becoming a paying customer, that is always the goal. You know, for example, you're here right now on this YouTube video. Maybe you found this by searching in YouTube or Google for something that's gonna help you to make more money from your content, and you landed on my video. Hello, so happy that you're here. You finding me this way, maybe this is the first time you're seeing one of my videos, that would be generating a lead. Hello, I'm so glad you're here. If this is not your first time finding one of my videos, maybe you've been following me for a while, more content, more value that I'm providing to you may be considered lead nurture. But even for people that are finding me for the first time, hopefully the intention is that I'm providing enough value that it is building the relationship, that it is nurturing that connection between us. Now, in every video that I create, I have something at the end of every video where I ask you to take the next step with me, whether that's follow me on another platform or watch this next video, or hey, click the link below to get access to my infinite cash flow blueprint to help you scale your business to 7 figures. That would be something that I can offer to continue to build the relationship and convert that lead that I have nurtured into a potential customer. So how can you do that for yourself? When you think about any piece of content you create, whether it's a video, whether it's a written post, whether it's a photo, how can you create the opportunity that brings someone in, that nurtures them, that builds the relationship, and then tells them the next step where they can go to continue that relationship with you? One of the best ways to do that is also through storytelling. The best marketers are the ones that spend more time on the story, because when you can captivate someone in your audience with a story that gives them that emotional connection to you, when someone is invested emotionally, they're more likely to invest financially. So when you observe your own purchasing behavior, think of some of the last things that you bought. Why did you buy them? Well, maybe from necessity, but did you buy them based on trust or because you had a relationship with the person that sold it to you? I know I recently bought a course from someone that I'd been following them for a while. I'd known their story a little bit, but then I saw this social media post where she told one of her personal experiences about growing her business and the struggles she went through, and I completely resonated with it. I was like, I've been through that exact same thing. It's like she's speaking my language. It's like she lived the exact same experience as me. And the story turned into how she overcame it and now was going to provide that solution to anyone who was interested and could click the link below for access to that. Now, because she had me so emotionally hooked, because I felt like she knew exactly what I'd experienced, and because I observed in the post how she then overcame it, I knew she has the answer that I need, to the point where I was emotional about it. I couldn't get my credit card out fast enough, and I was willing to buy. Have you ever had that experience where you got so excited, so emotional about something that you were like, I need this right now? What was that thing? Let me know in the comments below. Where have you had like such a great purchasing experience because of the way that the business or the company or the entrepreneur made you feel? So the best type of content that you can create, no matter what platform, no matter what medium, whether it's a photo or a video or a written post, is content that leads into your value ladder. Your value ladder is your products and services range from your lowest price to your highest price. Now, in every single post you create, you can be either nurturing a relationship or driving them towards the call to action. And I want to caution you that I always recommend using the 80-20 rule, that 80% of your content is value-based or relationship-based, and it can still have a call to action, but not always going straight for the sale. That would kind of be like the equivalent of, going up to someone on the street and just saying, will you marry me? You got to date them first. You got to build that relationship before you can go in for the proposal. That might be one of the best ways for you to think about your audience as if you're dating them, as if you're building up that relationship with every piece of content that you create. How can you nurture them? How can you date them before you ask them to marry you? That may be through videos, through free content, through lead magnets that give them like a preview of what it would be like to work with you. It could be through your Instagram stories where you show behind the scenes of your day-to-day life. They get to see your personality. They get to see your team or what your work routines are like so that they can get a glimpse into your personality and decide if they want to know, like, and trust you before making a purchasing decision. I like to consider that my content falls into 3 buckets: discovery content, rapport building content, and behind the scenes content. And as they go through those 3 buckets, they become more intimate and warm with my content. You know, if someone was discovering me for the first time, they may be cold. Like if this is the first video that you're finding of me on YouTube, you didn't know who I was before, you didn't know the solutions I provide. But as we get to know each other more, that turns into rapport building content where maybe you come from watching me on YouTube to then following me on Instagram and seeing my Instagram stories, or listening to my podcast, or following me on Facebook. And as you move from discovery, where they're kind of cold, rapport building, where we're getting warmer, and behind the scenes, where that lead is hot, they love what you have to offer, they're probably sharing your content at this point, they're regular listeners or viewers of your content, that's where people are more likely to make the purchasing decision. That's some of my favorite type of content to create, is that behind the scenes content. You know, I think of the discovery content and the rapport building content to be more polished and produced, like what you're seeing here on YouTube. But when audience members know and like and trust you enough, they're more likely to follow you on things like Instagram. And if you utilize your Instagram stories to show the behind the scenes of what it's like to work with you, that's what's going to build the most intimate emotional connection. For example, I was doing some Instagram stories before I started filming here today to show what our setup looked like, to introduce our videographers, to show what our system is like, so that if anyone else were interested in working with us at our studio, they would see a glimpse at what that's like behind the scenes. When I was hosting my event, Content Machine Live, we showed all the setup of us creating the swag boxes, of the behind the scenes, backstage, and all the cool things that went into creating that event. A backstage glimpse at the speakers before they hit the stage, so that the people that were in the audience could see what was happening at the event, but also had a more intimate version of behind the curtains. That for me is one of my favorite ways to build the most intimate relationships with my audience on Instagram. And you can choose for yourself how you want to communicate with your audience on different platforms. You may find that you love Instagram stories, or you may find that you prefer more formal communication on platforms like LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, my strategy there is personally to offer more blog posts or more videos or more posts that are educational, maybe more speaking to the discovery type content, because there's a lot of networking that goes on LinkedIn. That's really what the platform is for. So consider where your audience hangs out and how is the best way that they want to be engaged on each platform. Those are just some of the strategies that we use to help our clients to build a content machine and a cash flow system that results in an infinite cash flow loop. And I've actually created a blueprint for you. It's a free blueprint that you can get access to that my clients have used to scale themselves to 6, 7, even 8 figures using these strategies. You can click the link below to get that today for free.